Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series finale of Elementary. Holy shit, a great series finale. There's so much to talk about. For one, how surprised I was. I can't find the words just because there's so much. Because it was just one thing after another of twists and turns. Because I went into this having no idea where they were going to take this series finale, especially the way last episode went down of like Odin being arrested. I thought maybe the entire episode revolved around that. It's like, no, because we do a 3-year time skip. I'm like, what? The moment that came out, like the lady on the TV's like mouth, the moment she was bringing that up to Watson's like, oh yeah, your partner, your late partner, you both worked together and revealed what Odin was up to 3 years ago. I'm like, excuse me? Time skip? What? Oh my God. And it just goes, she wrote a book about Sherlock. Odin apparently, like, all the dirt about him has come up. The fact is he got 148 years. It's like we just completely skipped over that. I was like, I thought maybe this next episode would kind of revolve around. Because if anything with, like, the series finale, I was thinking, like, maybe part of the stuff they covered in last week's episode would have been in the series finale. Just like the whole bringing down Odin. That's why it kind of was like, wait, what? Like, I didn't know what the series finale was going to be. And it's like, oh, we skipped over that completely. I was like, holy crap. I should have figured as much because he was found guilty. It kind of takes a while for trials to kind of, first come up, and then they usually take a while to play out anyway. But regardless, it was like, holy crap. Then we find out, oh, Joan has a son named Arthur. It's like, she adopted. Yes. Because, she put her life on hold because of the whole, because obviously that was a big thing that she wanted in season 6, but obviously moving to London with Sherlock, leaving with him after everything, that kind of put that all on hold. So I was like, it's nice to see. It's like, yes, it went through, and she's got a kid, and you also got Marcus, Captain. I'm like, yo, that's dope. And it's like, don't call me Captain, call me Uncle Marcus. It's like, oh, it's so adorable. She's got Rose, who's kind of like a ex-military nanny. That's pretty interesting. It seems like things are good for Watson. You see the brownstone is not like the brownstone. It's like she's definitely made some modifications. It's like, holy crap. I mean, she's made it more into a home. It was always a home, but it always served more so as a place for them to help solve crimes and stuff. So it's interesting to see like other furniture in there like that, like an actual table. It looks weird to see the brownstone looking like an actual home in a certain regard. But then there's this lawyer who shows up. His name, Ronald. Yeah, I'm here from. Yeah, he says he was a friend of some. He works for a friend of yours, Jamie Moriarty. I was like, what? And then it's like, oh, lo and behold, it's her last will and testament. It's like, it's like, oh, Jamie died. I was like, okay. And it's like, oh, she, this was supposed to be sent to Sherlock, but obviously Sherlock's dead. So you were the heir to everything. I was like, and that moment I was like, is this a trick? I was even kind of feeling it then. And then Watson wasn't really sure what to do until Rose kind of brought it up. It's actually kind of sad because Rose was like, at the very least, at least they're together now. And I think that's what kind of shifted things in Watson's mind, because I was like, I even love it being like, she's like, I would feel bad, but Moriarty was a terrible person. And it's like, what? And I love Ronald being like, well, she was always fond of you. I love that being a thing. Her even being like, I don't know what that is. That's a bomb. But Ronald had to remind her, it's like, you were always off limits, even when she was alive. I doubt that's going to change now that she's dead. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. And her way to contact Sherlock was to smash his headstone. And lo and behold, he came up because he thought like it was supposed to be the sign of like, hey, her life's in danger. But he's like, so you brought me back because of this. It's like, well, yes, Moriarty might be dead, so I needed to make sure that, you got whatever message she was trying to send to you. But it turns out, at least in Sherlock's case, well, we kind of find out more about what he's been up to. He's kind of been doing his detective thing kind of low-key because he's been got different aliases, kind of still doing his thing, taking on some very powerful people. So life has been pretty exciting for him. He talks about the fact is that, the first couple months were kind of rough after, his exile and everything. But I will tell, because that's why like Watson is actually kind of pissed with him, because it's like, I was like, oh yeah, you promised to kind of check in every month, and you did that for like about a year, and he's like, give or take. And she was like, for 2 years I didn't know what happened to you. I didn't know if you were dead. But obviously like that all changed because it's like, no, like you had a kid. Like that was the last message. Like that's the last conversation they had, was her bringing up Arthur in conversation, and for Sherlock it's like, I'm gaining a lot of powerful enemies, and if they ever found out who I was, that I was behind all this, they would come after Watson and Arthur. It's like, yeah, them as a team, they've made powerful enemies in the past, but things are different. She has a child now, and he didn't want to compromise that. He didn't want to put her son in danger. So I thought that was kind of, that was kind of a beautiful sentiment with the whole situation. And I also love the fact is that he was talking about the fact is he couldn't necessarily go about things just being like a normal like consulting detective like he was before, because it would draw too much attention to himself. Maybe potential friends would kind of reach out, potential enemies would find out. So he has to go into these aliases, get jobs that get him close to criminal organizations, and he takes them down from the shadows. What I also love is finding out, Bell knows that basically Bell and Gregson know, because Watson couldn't stand like lying to them, because she saw how much it broke them up about it. So Bell, Sherlock's like, hey, and Bell just bam, gut punch, and he's like, I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing this for her. So it's like, yay, welcome back home, Sherlock. I love that. But we did learn some other interesting things. Obviously, Marcus married, kid, that's awesome. Sadly, we did find out about Paige. Gregson had retired like a year ago because he wanted to spend more time with Paige, and now she's gone. And it's like Marcus had to be like, well, yeah, unlike you, she's really gone, and we're not going to find out that she's actually somewhere in Europe solving crimes and stuff like that. So, because I love this whole situation, because Sherlock doesn't believe the person that because for one, like, he doesn't believe that Moriarty is dead first and foremost. But then looking into this whole situation, at first he's kind of like, I don't think Moriarty was the one that sent Ronald, because obviously like the guy ended up being killed, and Sherlock was like, yeah, don't tell Marcus and them what was up, but obviously ended up telling them later, because like, yeah, they already know that you're alive and everything. So, but I love like the twists and turns of this case and stuff like that. I love that I kind of got what I wanted. It wasn't fully what I wanted, because I've always wanted more Moriarty in this show. I'm sure like it's probably like super hard to get like Natalie Dormer. Maybe it's just like a scheduling thing. Maybe just too expensive. Whatever the case may be. But I do like that she has popped up in the story, even though she's never been there directly in the story. I still appreciate that I got what I kind of wanted. I was like, come on. Because they even made a point. There's like, yeah, Moriarty most likely did what we always assumed that she was going to do. Now that my dad was dead, she took back control of her organization. That's what I was wondering too. It's like, yeah, like that was because that was the whole thing. Like Sherlock was going to be the mediator between the two of them, keep them at peace, but like, yeah, obviously that power balance obviously changed the moment Moreland died. So, but that's that whole situation. So it turns out Ronald basically owed someone a debt. Like basically had a gambling debt. Someone made sure that he went to this particular dude, so that the dude, what was his name? The dude would win, because it was all planned out perfectly. So I was like, okay, so who's behind all this? Well, we have to go to Moriarty's organization for help, because obviously whoever it is familiar enough with Moriarty's organization to pretend to be her. So maybe it's someone that Moriarty's organization knows about. So she goes and meets with Ellery, who is played by, I brought this up before when she first popped up like that last season, but Ren Schmidt, I think is her name. I'm probably butchering it. Obviously, once again, she played Megan in The Outcast. That's like the go-to thing I kind of know her from. I feel like there was something else I knew her from, but I can't place it. I didn't even realize, I completely forgot her and Sherlock. I mean, her and Watson never met last season, did they? Because I think Sherlock made sure their meetings were when she wasn't around, I think. Because she made a point to be like, oh, it's actually kind of nice to meet you. And I love the whole situation, kind of the back and forth between them and stuff like that. And it's like, it turns out it's like, oh, you don't have to worry about it, Watson. We already know about Sherlock. We've known for a couple months. I'm like, yo! Which is interesting, too, because it's like, well, obviously he's been dead, quote unquote, dead for like 3 years. But the fact is that he's, they only found out within the past couple months, shows that Sherlock's actually really good at what he does. But it also proves how good Moriarty is to be able to figure out. It's like, oh, like even the scar above his head, how he got it, where he got it, that was proof that like, oh, they know Moriarty's known for a while that you've really been alive. And I love that, because it's like, so why has Moriarty been letting him attack? Because he's even been making hits against Moriarty's organization, and it's like, so why let him keep doing that? It's like, well, it's a net worth. a net gain type of situation. Yeah, he's been chipping away at her business, but the winning upside of things is he's also been taking out her competition. He's been taking out competitors, so he does more good than harm for our organization. Plus, and she even makes a point, like, we both know how Moriarty feels about Sherlock, so she always makes exceptions to that whole situation. I was like, oh my god, dude, I love it. And Ellery's like, oh, my boss, your partner, the games go on. I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but it was essentially that. It's like, I'm sure we're going to see each other again. I'm like, yes, because I love that. I love things where it's like, obviously you can tell, like, even though the story's ending, there's things that are going to continue, and potentially this Moriarty and Sherlock thing is always going to be a thing. Because, I mean, to be fair, like, since the books, that's always been a thing. Yes, I'm not that familiar with the books, but I know, like, Moriarty is, like, the arch enemy amongst arch enemies. You know, I mean, definitely when it comes to Sherlock, but, like, I think that's just one of those arch nemesis situations you're always familiar with, like, Moriarty and, Sherlock. But nevertheless, so now it turns into a whole thing of like, okay, so obviously it wasn't Moriarty, and they have no idea who it was either. Turns out that it was actually Ellery. She's actually the one that killed Ronald, because he did what he did, because he lied about it too, because like, oh, they knew he went to the brownstone, so it's like, why did you go there? And it's like, oh, he's like, I didn't, so killed him, because it's like, you use Moriarty's name in vain, especially because you went near them. It's like, you don't go near Sherlock or Watson without Moriarty say so. You just don't. Like, it's almost kind of interesting because they're almost like her little playthings of like, no. Like I said, like, she's taken an interest in Watson since season 2. Once again, she saved Watson from that lady that was trying to kill her in season 3 that ended up killing her boyfriend, because she likes her that much. She's grown to have affection for her just like she does Sherlock. It's a different level of affection, but still affection nonetheless, which I guess has its benefits, obviously. So it's like, okay, and Sherlock's on the phone, and the screen goes blue. I'm like, Odin? Oh my god, this has all been Odin's plan? I was like, what? And it's like, who comes out the shadows? Freaking McNally. I'm like, what? And it turns out, apparently McNally's name was never mentioned, because like Odin knows, like, oh, like the last thing he wants to do is leak any information about me and the NSA potentially being connected to everything he did. Also, it turns out that technology is like, oh, you thought he made it? It's like, no, he got that from us, which is interesting. Because the way he was making it seem like it was something his, but I guess he was trying to patent it himself, whatever the case may be. So that's interesting. I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, now, and you know, Sherlock's like, apparently he rose through the ranks because of everything. Despite everything, he avoided the scandal and ended up profiting, well, you know, coming out better because of the situation. So I was like, are you really going to come here to kill me? I was literally already dead, so you brought me back, you brought me out of the shadows just to kill me? It's like, I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to basically offer you a job. It's like, wait, what? Because I know what you've been up to all this time. Of course, because the NSA, we got eyes everywhere, and we're watching 24/7. We know what you were up to. The fact of the matter is, it took a while, but obviously, someone taking down all these bad people, hiding from the shadows, of course it's you. So, but here to offer him a job, it's like, hey, basically keep doing what you're doing, but just for us. We want to make it more official, but rather than, you know, you'd have to be a ghost for the rest of your life rather than like the past 3 years. I was like, oh. I was like, will Sherlock do that? Because obviously his work is very important to him and everything. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And it's like, okay, so, you know, what is he going to do in the grand scheme of things? Is he going to take McNally up on his offer? Because for him, it's a situation of like, oh no, he could do good with his job. And obviously he's not planning to stick around in New York because, you know, it's just like, if he sticks around, you know, he's afraid trouble might come, you know, their way, so he wants to protect everyone. But he meets up with Gregson, and I love him. Be like, oh, if you want to, you can punch me like Belle did. But it's like, nah. Gregson just hugs him. It's like that father figure, that mentor figure. It's like, oh, it's so good, it's so beautiful. And they kind of have a heart-to-heart about everything. And it's like, yeah, oh, you're saying that, oh, Arthur and all that's the reason why you're really leaving, but, like, there's more to it. It's like, the woman you love is here, obviously, but for him, it's like, it's a complicated situation. And then we get a reveal, I was like, holy crap, where he brings up the fact is that he actually relapsed while he was away, like, because his foundation, it wasn't just his friends he left behind or his life here, like he left, like Gregson and Bell played a big part in his foundation, but obviously since the beginning, Watson has always been his rock. She's always been the biggest part of his foundation. If it wasn't for Watson, the rest of his foundation, including Belle, including Gregson, wouldn't exist. So she's the bedrock to everything. So without her around, that's why he was able to hold things together, because it's like, hey, I'm here with you and everything. So that's why, like, from season 6 to season 7, like, wasn't that big of a deal. But like without her, knowing that he potentially will never potentially see her again, especially because he wanted to keep a distance to keep her and her son safe, that he knew that there was a good chance they probably wouldn't talk anymore. So that, and the sad thing is, it turns out the day she sent the message to him talking about the adoption was going through, it's the day he woke up in a hospital after overdosing. And it's like, Jesus. And it's like, the last thing I want to do is be in her life and her son potentially finding me like overdosed or something. I don't want to like traumatize her. He doesn't want to ruin her life. And then Gregson brings up the whole Paige thing, which, we know of that aspect that he brings up of like, she didn't want to be in a relationship with him because she found out about her condition. And it's like, she didn't want him to kind of have to be stuck looking after her. Things are going to get worse. But what did I do? I married her. And he's like, yeah, but your situation's different. The fact of the matter is, there was kind of a choice in the matter. And he didn't want to. He's like, I don't want to give Watson a choice. I can't like put her in that position of like, staying with me because I want to be here with her. I want to be with her, And then, Gregson drops a bomb on him because there was something that Watson was hiding. And Belle was even saying, like, are you going to tell him? I thought she was going down the Kitty route of like, oh, I'm not going to be a detective anymore, which I thought, well, would that be that big of a deal? But it's like, no, for her, I guess for her, it's like, oh, I'm your partner. And the fact is, like, I was like, I hate to accept that. That's what I was thinking that was about, because it's like, oh, this case. I'm like, why is this case so important? I was like, because he was like, oh, I can help you out with, but she's like, no, I handle. I was like, oh, so is this supposed to be like her final case or something? That's why she wanted to handle it herself. We find out Watson has cancer. I'm like, what? I'm literally like, fuck you. Why are you doing this? Don't do this. It's a series finale. Don't do something terrible like that. And it's like, yeah, Watson had a lump removed. And obviously, he's like, why wouldn't you tell me that? You were literally going to let me leave without letting me know that you were sick. That the fact of the matter is, this might be the last time I see you. But she's like, you're acting like I'm not going to fight and beat through this. And he hugs her and it's like, I'm going to stay. She's like, kind of like, I'm going to stay. Because I think for her, because she even said it to Belle, he's so good, like things are so good with his life, he's happy and everything, she didn't want to ruin his It's so interesting, and it's such a beautiful thing. They're both literally doing the same thing. They both look at how happy they are, and they don't want to ruin each other's lives, even though neither one can outright just say it. They want to be together. They don't ever want to be separated again, Because for Watson, she's like, yeah, I'm kind of getting over the fact is that obviously she was super pissed at him, but now she saw that he was happy and everything. It's like, it's okay. Because I'm sure for her, she probably would want him by her side, like going through, chemo and stuff like that. And then we get the 1 year later, I'm like, another time skip, a funeral. I'm like, once again, fuck you. I was like, did you literally kill off Watson? I was like, no, don't end this series finale on the biggest bummer ever. McNally's there and he's like, oh, she was a great woman. The fact of the matter, well, it wasn't great that he actually said. It was something of that vein, but it was like, dude, I was like, no way. It bummed me out, dude. I was like, is he going to be looking after Arthur from now on? I'm like, what's too much emotions. And then, he's like, do you ever regret turning down my offer? And then Sherlock's like, Watson needed me. So he's like, not 1 second. Go back. And there's Watson, hey! And she's got black hair again. I was like, hey, that's so interesting. Because he had even made note of the fact is that she was still blonde at the time. But it was like, oh, dude, I was like, hey! And it turns out whose funeral it was Moriarty's. I was like, oh, shit, are we really doing that? It's like, nah, Moriarty's not dead. It's like, are you sure? She's like, well, if anyone's going to know, of course you would know. But it's like, yeah, I'm sure she just took a page out of our book. Yeah, we still got a shovel. She's like, why do you ask? And he's like, you know why. And she's like, looks at him, it's like, you're not going to dig up her grave. It's like, well, it's one of the ways to prove that she's gone, not really dead. So I was like, oh my God, stop it. My heart can't take all of this. And then they go and they're meeting with Marcus to see if they could get their old jobs back. And she's like, maybe we should have called him ahead of time. It's like, oh, what you wanted to do, literally show him my medical records to be, so he could see for himself that I've got a clean bill of health. And he's like, right, because that's why she was like, I didn't bring it. He's like, okay, it's okay. That's why I've got a copy of it in my email and stuff. It's like, oh, because it turns out she has a wig. And I was like, right, she was going through chemo and stuff. But still, it's like, it's like, but what if he doesn't give us our job back? And Sherlock's like, I don't care. It doesn't matter as long as we're together. Part of me halfway expected, I was like, are you going to kiss? Like, because I don't know what kind of relationship they'd have. For one, it's what I've always wanted. It's like, you've always seen it as like, because you were never sure whether they were ever going to go down that route of being like together like that. I kind of always assumed. I mean, we actually think about it, because I hadn't even thought about that. Like, Sherlock heavily backed off like the random sex that he'd always randomly have sex with people because it helped with his mind and everything. Like, he did that multiple times over the course of the series. It didn't even cross my mind to think that's an element that disappeared more and more as the series progressed. Like, obviously much later in the series it disappeared, but still I was like, I didn't even realize or even think about that. So we end off with the theme song playing and them going in there to meet with, because part of me was kind of halfway expecting, are they going to kiss? But I guess maybe that's not their type of relationship. Or maybe it's a thing of like, no, they do. But it's just like, in this instance, it's not. It's like, whatever the case may be, I don't give a damn. They're together. And it's like, hey, Watson is, cancer free. It's a twisted thing to say, but it's like, it took a bad thing for them to kind of finally say what they wanted to say, that they wanted to be together. It's like they wanted each other in their lives, And, so that's the silver lining to the situation. I'm sure Belle's going to hire them back. So, and once again, this whole Moriarty thing probably isn't done. I'm sure she is still alive, getting the police officer back and everything. So I did like Sherlock's thought that he was going to be like, yeah, I could go work with McNally, get inside the NSA, root out some corruption, take down another criminal organization. Or I could work with them and pit them against Moriarty's organization, which, dude, and I love her being like, you're literally the only one who would make kind of a happy situation out of that. But oh my god, I don't know. Once again, it's a whole conversation I've had recently about series finales. I don't know how in general most people are going to feel about this. I loved it. This was because it was an entire finale focused on like where things go from here. Like, it wasn't necessarily a big case. It was kind of like one final case. It was supposed to kind of be the hurrah in a certain extent before Sherlock ended up leaving it and kind of going back into the shadows. But still, it's like, it's just satisfactory, to see where everything ended up, to see where our characters are, where this story ends up for them. And obviously it's not the end, because I love finales where it's like, oh, you can obviously tell, like, going forward they continue doing their good work and stuff like that. Once again, I like the thought of knowing like, oh, they're potentially clashing heads with Moriarty's organization in the future, and just that'd be kind of like a neat thing in itself. But like, it's so many twists and turns. Like I said, my heart just couldn't handle it. Like, I was just getting giddy about some of the like conversation, just this aspect. It's nuts. I'm sad to see it end, but at the same time, it's such a beautiful ending, in my personal opinion, that I'm so okay with it. Like, I was okay with, like, I'm always have the toughest time be like, I hate knowing that things are coming to an end, because I never want things to end, especially stuff that I really like. And this show has just been incredible. This has been my deepest experience with the character of Sherlock Holmes. Once again, I've never read any books. I've watched a little bit of Sherlock, but this has been my deepest dive into Sherlock mythology. Obviously, having a more contemporary spin on it. Obviously, a more American contemporary spin on it to a certain degree. I mean, if you were to really go down that route, it'd probably be like an actual American Sherlock Holmes if you went by what I was saying. You get what I'm trying to say. But holy crap. Yeah, like always in these situations, I wish that my best wishes go out from cast to crew, everyone involved with the show. I wish them the best in their future endeavors. Thank you for bringing this awesome show to me and so many others. It just has been an amazing ride, and I think Once again, my personal opinion, you're stuck in the landing. I think they did a very sad, like I said, I didn't know what to expect from this series finale with the way the last episode played. I was unsure, like, how are you going to play this all out? Time skipping was a very nice touch, and it wasn't just like, oh, we time skip at the end of the episode, which we technically did, but it was more so like, no, the entire episode was a time skip, and just how that all fit together, making it so like the main antagonist Odin wasn't even an issue anymore. It was like, oh, he's taken care of. He's arrested, going away for 148 years. That's what I was also surprised about the McNally thing. But I guess McNally was like, well, he didn't always side with the way Odin went about things. He knew Odin had the best of intentions, but it's like, hey, if he can work with an honorable person like Sherlock, and Sherlock gets the results he gets, then it all kind of works. You kind of be the answer that Odin couldn't be to a certain extent. I should also talk about the fact is, like, we hear a little bit about it of like, oh, like working out schedules about like how they should handle everything. Obviously the whole like Arthur thing, Sherlock and Watson. But I'd love to see, like, I wish we got a little bit more of their new dynamic. I'm sure not much has changed because this is the dynamic they've had all these years, obviously just more added to it. Like, they're more upfront about how they feel about everything, and I'm curious to see what this new dynamic would necessarily look like. Would there be any changes? Would there be slight changes? Like, how everything would go about, like what their jobs would be like going forward. Now obviously they probably wouldn't. I mean, well, they do have Rose there too, so that added an interesting element to like their whole dynamic and stuff like that. Having that, well, also Arthur, Kitty, I'm sure would kind of visit from time to time. There's a character that came up this season. I'm blanking. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible with names. It's the actress who played Tilda in Into the Badlands. Like, obviously, her and Sherlock had a connection. I'm assuming that's going to continue. Maybe she can become like his next protege, kind of his next Kitty, kind of his next Watson, but more so Kitty than anything, kind of being the protege angle to it. That's where my mindset is at. What other detectives would they work with now that Marcus has become a captain? Like, maybe some new cops would end up joining the precinct, and then it's like, yo, Sherlock and Watson, this is the new detective you're going to be working with, that type of thing. Someone else having to get used to way Sherlock, because I even love Sherlock made a remark about like, I'm sorry about the way I just kind of breeze past everything. My manners have kind of been bad these past 3 years, because which is so interesting, because like you compare who Sherlock was at the beginning of the series to who he is now. Like, he's a very different person. Like, he's a lot more tactful than he was in the beginning, Maybe it's just being around Watson kind of helped. I like to think Watson helped bring a lot more of that to, him. But nevertheless, that was just something floating in the back of my mind, So that's how I think about it. But like I said, I've been rambling enough as it is. Once again, holy shit. Thank you for making such an amazing show. Like I said, best wishes to everyone in their future endeavors. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.